walking around. Dino was always drawing pictures of buildings, always with his sketchbook. But you will see the beautiful city of Havana in this book, My Havana. And what happened was that when the dictator came into power, Dino's family at the time owned probably the best fish restaurant in Havana. It was a very famous restaurant, and all the tourists came, and he and his wife worked very hard. Dino's parents were not rich people. They did not come from wealthy families. Dino's father had been a waiter at the Hotel Roosevelt in Havana when he was young, and he met his wife there, who was a chambermaid who cleaned the rooms in also the Hotel Roosevelt. So these were not rich people. The funny thing is that Fidel Castro was a very rich boy and went to private schools and pretended he wasn't rich. He pretended he was a peasant, which was a big lie. You can look this up. And he had a best friend whose name was Che Guevara, Castro did. And Che had such beautiful long eyelashes, and he looked so good in his beret, and he was so handsome that all the Americans in Hollywood fell in love with him, and he became a hero. But he really wasn't, because he went up to Dino's uncle and held a gun to his head, and he said, "You're going to give me the restaurant and your whole business, or I'm going to pull the trigger." That's not very nice, is it? So Dino and his family had to give up their whole family business and their restaurant and everything they owned and worked so many years to improve and to get. And they had to move. Luckily, they had an uncle who lived in New York City. So poor Dino is 9 years old. He has lived in the sunshine all his life, in this beautiful city with pink and yellow and coral-colored walls and cathedrals. It is the Paris of the Caribbean. And he loved his city, and it was right on the water. You in Florida know what I mean, and it was warm all year round. And so he went to the city of Nueva York. Now, does anyone know what Nueva York is? And what do you think New York was like in October? And November? Ooh! Sleet, ice, blackness, early darkness, no beautiful Caribbean, no pink and yellow walls, nothing but ice and snow and a different language. And when he went to school, in those days, in 1958, it was not so welcoming to Hispanic people. And Dino had a hard time. You know what happened to him? He was in the 5th grade. And he went into the 5th grade at the public school in New York, and the teacher said, "Well, you don't speak English. You can go down to kindergarten until you learn, young man." And so he learned to speak English in a big hurry. But he was still very homesick. And when he did his radio interview for NPR, and by the way, I hope everybody supports NPR here, because it's the best thing on American radio. And it's in a time of tremendous attack. When he did this interview for NPR, I found out one thing about Dino. And I wanted to bring this up because this is how writers work. Writers find one little jewel. It's like panning for gold, and you find that one little piece of gold in the river. And the little piece of gold was not necessarily the whole story of Dino. What it was that he was quiet, quiet. When somebody's talking, who's going to be quiet? Raise your hand. That's it. Quiet, quiet. It was that he was so homesick, and there are no books about homesickness. He was so homesick that he went upstairs to his bedroom in New York while the sleet and snow were falling outside, and he built the city of Havana out of cardboard in his bedroom and painted it with fluorescent paint.